Hi, I'm Ethan. I love muzzleloading. Today we're on the range with our Traditions St. Louis Hawken. This is a 50 caliber 1 48 inch twist barrel. We're going to be testing these 4 muzzleloading projectiles. These are 4 all lead traditional muzzleloading projectiles in a penetration test at 50 yards. Our target for this is a series of water-filled 1-gallon milk jugs set at 50 yards. We're going to see how far each of these traditional projectiles can penetrate into these milk jugs using 80 grains by volume of Swiss 3F black powder. Now, traditionally, you're going to see a lot of people say 50 caliber is going to use 2F black powder. You can use 3F in it. It's kind of right on the line. And the Swiss 3F in particular is going to be a little bit hotter than some of the other 2F black powders out there. So we're going to see if that affects anything in this test. Before we get started, I want to thank muzzleloaders.com for sending in all the bullets that we're going to be using apart from the Roundball. In this video, I'd really like to thank them for their support. I'm not getting compensated in any way for the video, but I do appreciate them sending in the projectiles that we're going to be using. This stuff kind of adds up, so just want to thank muzzleloaders.com. The projectiles we're going to be testing today are a traditional 495 Roundball with a 15 thousandths patching. This is lubed with RMC Oxyoke's Wonder Lube. We also then have a Hornady PA Conical. This is a .512 diameter projectile. It weighs 240 grains. And then we have the Thompson Center Maxi Hunter. These are a 275 grain bullet, 50 caliber. And then we have the Hornady Great Plains all lead projectile here. These don't have any lube and they are a 385 grain projectile. To get started here, we're going to test our 495 round balls first. Reading 1912 on the chronograph. So here's our carnage as we come up to it, stopping the GoPro. And I marked the jugs this time. So here's our first. We had it facing this way. So we were a little high center on our first hit. But we split it right through. And then jug number 2 is right next to it. Pretty much the same spot as we went through there. Really cracked that one open. And then jug 3, it looks like we just kept going straight through. There's 4, 5, and it looks like we stopped in 5 jugs. There we go. So there's our 495 round ball, having gone through 5 water jugs, stopping in the 5th. Kind of odd there how it's distorted and still remained round on the side there. Here's the layout for the 495 round ball, starting from first to last. Really saw some deformation up until the 3rd one. We have this plug here that blew out, but really from 3 to 5 we just have penetration and then the round ball stopping. So even though the shot was a little bit high, we don't quite have center of mass here, we still drained quite a bit of water there on each of the jugs before stopping in jug 5. When you're shooting a traditional sidelock muzzleloader like this percussion Hawken here, you need to make sure that your barrel is the right kind of barrel to shoot something other than a round ball. So traditionally, your muzzleloading rifles were going to be a 1 in 66 or 1 in 60 twist. That's really going to accommodate the round ball very well. The conicals and the other projectiles that we have here are going to want a bit of a faster twist rate to shoot a little bit more accurately. So that's why we have a 1 in 48 inch twist barrel here. Now we're doing this PA Conical. This is also from Hornady. You can see here, this is like a squished round ball. So we have a round nose and then a bit of a collar coming off the back to a hollow base there to engage with our rifling. Kind of a neat projectile. I guess this is probably a step up from the traditional round ball without being too advanced for some game commissions. (1801) on the chronograph. Coming up here, I've just shut off the GoPro. This is jug number 3 here, still on the board, but jug number 2 got pushed back here about 4 feet, and then jug number 1 just got slammed back over here. So there's jug number 1, and there's where we're standing here. And look at that. So this is our round ball that we just shot. And you can see it's spread out just a little bit there, but look at the spread there on that PA Conical. I mean, that just opened right up. I mean, that's the kind of thing that we've been seeing on some of the other all lead bullets. Nice expansion there. There you can see that base, how it's opened up in comparison to that round ball. Looking at them side by side here, we have 3 jugs of penetration, but we do have a much larger difference in expansion. So our first jug here totally split open and launched about 15 feet. Our second jug split and cut through, and then our third jug penetrated but stopped. Next up, we've got the Thompson Center Maxi Hunter, the 275 grain 50 caliber bullet. This is what that looks like. You can see we have a couple grease grooves in there filled with Thompson Center's famous boar butter. 1770 on the chronograph. Here's what is left of the Thompson Center Maxi Hunter. We have a bit of, a bit of breakage here, which is much different than we saw at 100 yards out of the Acura. So we have what looks like probably the outer ring here of that expansion getting tore up, and then a couple flakes here. I believe this to be the base. Just seeing the ring there, I think that's the base as it came out of the rifle. Looking at our Thompson Center Maxi Hunter here in line, we have an absolutely crushing shockwave into the first jug, ripped the second one in half, tore the third, and we ended up stopping inside this fourth jug here. You can see a pretty good center shot here on the center of mass for the jug, and that stays through just about all 4 jugs here as those were lined up. So like we are seeing continually here, shockwave and then diminishing returns. But 4 jugs penetrated here. Now we've got the Hornady Great Plains 385 grain bullet. This is almost, to me, like an old buffalo bullet. It's kind of a Western style. Big bullet. 1604 on the chronograph, which makes sense because of that much heavier bullet. So coming up here, we've got jug 1, jug 2, jug 3, all cut out in a line here. Jug number 4, we have a penetration in here into this side, and then another angular exit. There's something about this bullet that makes it want to exit off to an angle. So we might have to do this again, but it looks like we've got some lead in here. There we go, there's a chunk. I'll take that, man. I will count that. So there is what is left of our Hornady Great Plains 385 grain bullet. I'm happy that we were able to capture at least some of it here. What we didn't capture, I think it's safe to assume, split off and exited the jug there somehow. But when we look at the distance thrown here for these jugs, I'd say it's pretty impressive that we have just a straight line coming all the way back there. I think that's kind of interesting. Here's our Hornady Great Plains lineup. Jugs 1 and 2 really cleaved right open. And then when we get into 3, we have a pretty nice split. And number 4, we just have a nice entry and a partial exit. I was able to find a section here that my thumb is pointing at. I was able to find that piece of lead in jug number 3. So we had some lead split off in jug 3 before the larger section there ultimately settled in jug 4. Looking at the jugs out as a whole here again is a recap of our round ball jugs. We have 5 jugs penetrated. Our PA Conical here, we split 3 jugs. Our Thompson Center Maxi Hunter split 4, or got into 4. And our Hornady Great Plains here also penetrated 4. Back on the bench here now, we can take a look at these different projectiles kind of side by side and compare how they did. Now, I'll admit, like I have in the other penetration test videos, I am not a a mountain man. I don't do a whole lot of hunting. So I'm gonna leave a lot of the interpretation of this up to you. I'm just here to kind of show you the results that I got with this test. So here on my left, starting off, we have our 495 round ball. You can see how it just kind of flattened out and deformed there on one side and kind of kept a nice spherical shape here as well, which I think is kind of interesting. I've not seen a whole lot of penetration tests with a round ball, so I'm really interested in that result that we have there. Here we have our PA Conical from Hornady. I know this was something that a lot of folks were requesting. We have a nice mushroom here through the whole projectile, and then we have our base here at the bottom. For our Thompson Center Maxi Hunter here, I have two projectiles. The one is from a non-filming test that I've done, where we have just kind of a slumped nosed result here with the Maxi Hunter. The projectile for this test actually split up quite a bit, which I find interesting because both of these were shot with the same distance, the same charge, and the same gun. But we have two different results here. We do have, kind of the base or the column here for the Maxi Hunter where we have some expansion there. We can see the rifling marks. But a lot of that mushrooming looked like it tore off, got a little bit too thin as it went through the water. Again, that's a 275 grain projectile as it comes. Last but not least, we have our Hornady Great Plains, our 385 grain, our big bullet here. We had it kind of split up. We have, kind of a chunk of the base and the projectile itself here, but a lot of that now pretty much shredded out. And again, what I found interesting was we found a section of this bullet in jug 3 when the largest section was found in jug 4. So I'm not sure, I didn't find any other remnants of this bullet in the first two jugs. They were just totally decimated. So it'd be interesting to see how much of that bullet came apart and when. Is that something that just happened in that third jug, kind of acting as a brake to the inertia that was coming up, or what happened there? I'm not sure. It would be fun to talk to some of the people who have developed these bullets to see. But that's what we have across the board here. That's all I have for you today. Once again, I'm Ethan. I love muzzleloading. If you'd like some more in-depth information about this test that we've conducted here today, we'll have a link at ilovemuzzleloading.com. Should be the first link in the description of this video, wherever you're watching it. That's where you can find some up-close pictures and some stills from the video, as well as the chronograph information. So you can compare all this for yourself and then make some informed decisions about what you're going to take into the field this year. I'm Ethan. I love muzzleloading. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next time.